You're listening to That Woman podcast, the podcast that helps women embrace the journey of finding self purpose, growing their faith, and becoming the best version of themselves one day at a time. My name is Vanessa Torres, and I am your host. We are well into the new year of 2025, and like most people, we give ourselves resolutions and talk about everything we want to do for the new year. However, we tend to forget about the things we are currently doing that we should stop doing. In today's episode, I will be talking about 5 habits to be more specific, that you should stop doing and what you should focus on and be doing this year instead.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Torres, and welcome to my podcast. Over the years, I've navigated through the highs and lows of life, rebuilt my life alongside my husband and 2 daughters when we left beautiful British Columbia and had to start from scratch in search of a better life for our family. I've struggled to find my own identity outside of being a wife and a mother. And like me, there's so many of us that are trying to find our purpose, have a voice, and simply try to be the best versions of ourselves. Join me on this journey to discover and become that woman you can be proud of. We'll peel back the curtains and discuss topics on lifestyle, marriage, motherhood, walking in our faith, and what it takes to reach the other side of fear, and so much more. Think of me as your girl having a glass of wine and deep diving on meaningful, raw, and unscripted conversations. This is the place where you can be fierce, bold, and unapologetic. This is That Woman podcast.
The first habit you need to stop doing this year is excessive multitasking. In the past, multitasking was seen as a valuable skill, as it was known to increase productivity. But in fact, the opposite is true. In the last few years, the mindset around multitasking has taken a turn, and it's now seen as something that is no longer beneficial in the long run. Trying to juggle and maneuver several things at the same time leads to becoming more distracted, increases stress, and the quality of the work you're trying to achieve decreases. An analogy I like to use as an example is the boulder effect analogy. So I want you to imagine you take a few rocks or pebbles and you start throwing them into the water. You would create lots of ripple effects, but they would be very small and not get very far. On the other hand, if you were to take a big, heavy boulder and throw that into the water instead, the ripples that it would create then would have a much bigger and more significant impact. It's the same when you put all your energy and focus into one single task or goal. The results of putting all of your attention and focus into that one thing will give you more efficient results. I'll quickly share a couple of strategies that will help you focus on just one goal. The first strategy you can use is to prioritize your goal. We probably have a lot of things we want to accomplish this year, but to increase our chances of succeeding, we must first rank our goals in order of importance. For example, let's say one of your goals is to get healthier and lose weight. This is a really common one, and it's actually a goal of mine for 2025. And we all know how overwhelming it can get when you start to research all the million and one diets that are out there. Which one's better for me? How many calories do I need to eat in a day? And that's just in terms of nutrition. We also probably ask ourselves, what type of exercises do I need to do? How many times a week do I need to work out? Should I go to the gym or should I work out from home? I mean, my brain is just exhausted thinking about working out, and I haven't even done anything. This is why we overwhelm ourselves to the point of setting ourselves up for failure. What we need to do is to take a step back and prioritize our goals in order of what's most important to us. So, if being healthy is ultimately my goal, then I will start by cutting out all processed food and foods that are not healthy for me. Cut out sugary drinks like pop and cut out eating an excessive amount of sweets. Notice I said excessive, not all. You can have one cookie at least, but that's it. That's all I'm going to do to start. This ties in with the next strategy, which is to break down your goals into smaller tasks. Before choosing to do a specific diet or even beginning to work out, I'm just going to focus on cutting out food and drinks that are bad for me. Once I become consistent with that, then I can move on to the next step. The last strategy is to time block for your goal. Whatever goal you decide to focus on this year, if you don't allow yourself the time to work on your goal, then what's the point? I've talked before about how much I love time blocking on my calendar to help me stay on track with the things I need to get done. Now, I'll be the first to admit that it's not always easy. As a mom of three now, and one of them being an 8-month-old, I can tell you that I can't exactly plan out my day hour by hour. But again, we're going to also challenge ourselves to be intentional about dedicating at least 1 hour a day to the goal we want to achieve. If you can't do an hour, do 30 minutes or even 15 minutes. Schedule a specific time that works best for you to focus on one goal to prevent multitasking during that period of time. The next habit to stop this year is spending too much time on social media. No worse habit will completely drain and waste your time like scrolling through social media. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, just to name a few. It's so easy to fall into the trap of telling ourselves, oh, I'm just going to take a few minutes to wind down and go through my feed. Because before you know it, you've lost track of time and spent 30, 40 minutes, even up to an hour doing nothing but scrolling through mindlessly. I'm not telling you to cut out all social media completely from your life because the reality is that social media is one of the main ways we communicate with each other now. We stay up to date with what's happening around the world, and a lot of us even use it for work purposes. But there are a couple of ways to help us control the amount of time we spend on social media. The first one is using an alarm method. Set your alarm for a specific time frame to give yourself to be on social media. For example, perhaps you want to give yourself 15, 20 minutes to be on social media, maybe no more than that. And when the 15 or 20 minutes are up, your alarm will go off, and that means the time is done, and now you need to move on and do something else. Another option is if you have an iPhone. I'm not sure if you can do this if you're an Android user, but if you have an iPhone, you can set a time limit for all the apps you want to take a break from. You can go to your settings, click on screen time, and from there you can select the apps you would like to have blocked after a specific amount of time. Let's say you don't want to use your social media apps for more than 1 hour for the day. Once your apps reach that hour mark, they will automatically get blocked and stay blocked for the rest of the day. So, those are just a couple of ways you can manage getting distracted and cutting back on social media. Moving on to habit number 3, going to bed late. All right, this is a tricky one again. Being what's considered a night owl, meaning you prefer to go to bed late, or an early bird, you prefer to go to bed early, is actually genetic. Some people just naturally prefer to go to bed late because for a lot of them, that's when they tend to feel more alert and productive, or they feel more creative, making it more difficult to fall asleep early. However, not getting enough sleep can be detrimental not only to our physical health, but our mental health as well. I've gone to bed late many times, not necessarily because I was doing something productive, but the opposite. I was on my phone watching videos on YouTube or Instagram, which I think is what the majority of us are probably doing. But sleep deprivation has a negative effect on us, including extreme fatigue throughout the day, irritability, impaired memory, low concentration, and decreased productivity. Purposely staying up late is a bad habit that won't stop overnight, but you can begin by making changes in smaller increments. Start by going to bed 15 minutes early than you typically do, and do that for about a week. The following week, do another 15 minutes earlier and continue to do that until you reach a time when you can get enough rest throughout the night. Avoid unnecessary screen time and aim to be off screens for at least 1 hour before bedtime. It really should be 2 hours before bedtime, but at least aim to do it 1 hour before. I know it's tempting to be on your phone or watch TV as a way to wind down. And many people do this because they think it will help them sleep much faster, but it does the opposite. The blue light from these devices is what affects your brain's ability to signal to your body that it's time to fall asleep. Eliminating blue light exposure before you go to bed will make it much easier for your mind and body to relax and fall asleep. Habit number 4 to stop: poor time management. As a Latina woman, I can tell you, I've been guilty of the typical stereotype that Hispanics are known for, which is being notoriously late to everything. Poor punctuality, though, is not, or shouldn't be, I guess, a stereotype, but it is an example of another bad habit that we need to stop this year, which is poor time management. Other examples include struggling to complete tasks, getting easily distracted, always rushing, and missing deadlines. Can you guess which is one of the biggest culprits for causing poor time management? Procrastination. A lot of us delay completing our tasks because we much rather be doing anything else, choosing the more fun or pleasant tasks versus the not so pleasant ones like chores or working out, etc. We need to counteract this bad habit by creating a system that will help get the uncomfortable tasks completed and out of the way. A great way to stop and decrease procrastination is by using what's known as the Pomodoro technique. If you've never heard of the Pomodoro technique, it is a popular time management method that helps to boost productivity by doing focused work during 25-minute intervals and taking a 5-minute break. The reason this method works is because it helps to minimize your distractions and improves your focus. Committing to completing a task for 25 minutes at a time is much easier than taking multiple tasks that need to be completed for a day or an entire afternoon. I've used this method before, and I can tell you for a fact that when I have not, those are the days where I have felt the most overwhelmed or I feel like I have achieved nothing. Especially being a stay at home mom, we have an endless list of things we need to do. We need to go grocery shopping, we need to do the laundry, we need to wash the dishes. But on the days that I have purposely chosen to use this Pomodoro technique, I can tell you that I feel like I'm able to get through the list a lot more efficiently than on the days that I don't. So, not only will this method keep you on time and more productive, but you will feel more focused and mentally fresh. Last but not least, habit number 5 to stop this year is not taking action. How many of you have ever had hopes and dreams of doing something, becoming something, but you just can't seem to go anywhere with that? Sometimes we start to think of what needs to be done in order to accomplish what we want, only to get overwhelmed, discouraged, and in the end, never even get started. This can be something at work or in your own home, but most of the time, it goes deeper than that. One of the most common reasons we never take action is because we let fear get in the way. This can be fear of failure, fear that others might judge us, or fear of not feeling good enough. Or it's simply overwhelming to think of all the steps we need to take to get to where we want. Whatever the reason, We need to get out of our safe and comfortable bubble and push ourselves to be uncomfortable with the unknown. There was a research done at the University of Scranton, Pennsylvania, where they found that 92% of people who set goals never actually achieve them. 92%. That is absolutely mind blowing. That means that only 8% of the people they based the study on were successful in achieving their goals. That's it, 8%. So we need to ask ourselves, what is this 8% doing that the other 92% isn't? How are they taking action to be able to achieve their goals? So let's quickly break down a couple of ways you can do this. The first mistake people make is not setting goals to begin with. I know that sounds silly and you might be thinking I'm stating the obvious, but if I were to ask you right now on the spot, give me your top 3 goals you want to accomplish for this year, financially, spiritually, professionally, etc. Would you, without hesitation, be able to tell me? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe 8% of you could, but not the other 92%. You don't have to go all crazy with this. All right, Vanessa, I'm going to set 20 goals for myself this year and I'm going to show you. No, no, please don't. Especially when we are starting, less is more. And I recommend setting no more than 3 or 4 goals for yourself to begin. I lean towards 3, ideally, to start, but you can go up to 4. It should also be in different categories, such as financial goal, personal goal, a career goal, etc. Next, we want to break down these goals or projects into smaller, bite-sized steps. I briefly just covered this at the beginning of the episode, but the process that's most commonly used to set your goals is by using the SMART goals method. SMART is an acronym for the steps needed to create your goals. It stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. I actually break down how to use the SMART goals method in a lot more detail in episode 2 of this podcast called Fall Reset, Realign Your Goals and Intentions for a New Season. So I recommend you check it out. I will link the episode in the show notes. By following the SMART method, when you are setting your goals, it will help you to be more focused and it forces you to think about exactly what it is you want to achieve. The more detailed you get, the more realistic and achievable it becomes. Breaking down your goals step by step will help give you that little boost of motivation and confidence you need to start taking action. All right, friends, those were 5 habits you should stop this year and some tips on what you should focus on instead. And to end the episode, I have a pondering question of the day. Are you ready for it? Okay. What's one small step you can take or change today that will lead to building better habits for yourself? What's one small step you can take or change today that will lead to building better habits for yourself? Don't forget to share your answer with me. You can tag me on Instagram at that.womanpodcast. And don't forget to subscribe and follow the show. Your support means so much to me. My name is Vanessa, and remember to keep on striving to be that woman you can be proud of.
We finished already? Where did the time go? If you want more, be sure to follow this podcast so you can receive new episodes right when they're released. I'm curious, what was your biggest takeaway from this episode? What resonated with you the most? I'd love for you to let me know by leaving a review. Reviews let this platform know that amazing listeners like you enjoy the show. You can also come hang out with me on Instagram at Miss Vanessa Torres or at that.womanpodcast. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week.